thank you for joining me on a very special edition of Two Guys and a Lot of Wine. I'm Bobby P. Jim is in Boston, experimenting with different wines, but I am joined by three fantastic guests on this show. First of all, Mr. Ray Hardman of WNPR, friend and musician, and just an extraordinary guy.
Thank you.
And actually, Ray, your band did the soundtrack for both the opening and closing of the show.
That's
Thank
right.
you very much. And the State Budget Director, Mr. Ben Barnes, lover of Spanish wine. Thank you for coming down. And my wife's boss, by the way. And Mr. Eli Ross, wine guru, and just all around knows everything. So
glad to be back.
we're going to have some great stuff tonight. I know we are. And if we're not, well, you don't have to lie. Just tell me it's terrible. So we've been hooked on Spanish wine, me and Jim, for the last 2 months. We've been doing a lot of Spanish wine. And I just find that it's very accessible. It's really nice to drink. And you can get some great values right now in Spanish wine. And some of the wines that are on the table tonight are extremely highly rated, very affordable, and pack a wallop of a punch. And that's what I'm hoping for tonight. So what we're going to start off with first is a nice Cava Brut. It's dry. My tasting notes say it's got a taste of green apple, of honey. It's a good starter for like if you're having a party or if you're going to, Thanksgiving's just around the corner. Actually, you'll be seeing the show in December. So what do you eat in December?
Ham.
Christmas ham?
Spanish ham.
Spanish ham?
There you go.
Well, there you go. It's a good starting point before the evening really gets out of control. So this is the Masa de la Luz Cava. The vineyard is located in the Penedès region, which I think is sort of close to Barcelona. I'm not sure if Ben or Eli have been to that area or not, but it's where a lot of the premium cavas actually come from, that particular area. But this is affordable. This is in the $9.99 to $12.99 price point.
Oh, it's nice.
And non-vintage, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's dry. Yeah,
Which is
I like
what I
that.
like.
Yeah, I
love
like
the
it
dry
too.
cava.
I do too.
Yeah, it's a great place to start because with too much sweetness, it sort of just sets you off on maybe on a path that isn't necessarily going to lead you into some of the other stuff. So.
And Ben, I know, are you generally a cava guy? You just strike
No,
the reds?
I'm a go right for the red wine normally, but I'm always willing to try new things.
I respect that. I respect that.
Jump right in.
You don't need the nonsense of the
Yeah, no,
early
but
cava. just-
I'm willing to try it. It's quite delicious. So
Yeah, it really
I
is.
understand. Maybe I'll start adding that in.
And I think cavas are great because they're also a little bit lower in alcohol. I think that's probably 11. So as we're moving on to the table tonight, that's going to increase drastically in percentage. But what's good about some of the Grenaches at the end is even though it's higher in alcohol, you don't taste it like you would say in a port or something like that.
Right, right.
Really, really good to drink. So it's my go-to right now. I think it's fantastic. Put a few in your cellar and have for the holidays. It's certainly not going to offend anybody's palate.
So you're giving this to people when they come in the door?
Well, not entire bottles. No.
Right. No. No.
But yes, they will get a sip at Bobby
Maybe
P's place.
you might get a whole bottle, right?
Yeah.
So we agree that that's not too bad.
That's really good. Yeah.
Did anybody get the honey? I got the green apple, but I don't know if I got any honey in that.
Well, I mean, like Ray was saying, it is a dry finishing wine, so I don't get the sweetness, but maybe some of the floral parts of honey, that you might pick up. So I can see that.
Before we actually go into our next one, I know both Ben and Eli have traveled to Spain. Ray, you've been to Argentina.
Yeah.
But when you guys are in Spain, did you have some favorite regions that you enjoyed more than others?
Most of the time I've spent in Spain has been in northwestern Spain in Galicia, where they make albariños. So that's pretty much
Great white wine,
It's
yeah.
great white wine. It's a lot of fun to drink that. But you get plenty of delicious garnachas and riojas. So it's pretty widely available. The reds in that part of Spain aren't. They make sort of table wines, which are fine, but not particularly interesting in there. But certainly when you travel around, there's wine from all over. So I've mostly been drinking those white wines and drinking riojas and garnachas from different regions.
Yeah, I think whites are really underappreciated in America right now from Spain. I actually really like a lot of the whites from Spain. And I think on the show we did a month or two ago, we actually had a white Grenache. Is that possible?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
That was unbelievable. It's probably one of the best whites I've had all summer.
Yeah, if you ferment it without the skins, basically you can create a white version of it. But the area I got to tour was actually in Rioja, which is famous for Tempranillo. So it's kind of earthier, a little bit more tending towards the tannic side, especially as compared to the garnachas that we're going to have. But I mean, all great food wines, like we talked about before the show. Spain, the food is terrific. So whether it's Galicia or Barcelona, Madrid, wherever you are, and the wine just sort of all flows literally.
What's unfortunate for our viewers is I can smell the aromas of some of these spicy sausages and meats, and some of the, I got some Spanish cheese there. And that's the kind of food that you sort of really like eating sometimes with a good Spanish red, because the aromas of the food are so nice and sometimes a little overpowering, and they can be tempered sometimes by the right red. So I hope everybody is noticing that Eli, the wine guru, is the only person with the official correct glass on the table.
Well, yeah, I don't know about.
Ben, I apologize for that. Don't hold it against me. And Ray, I apologize. But I didn't want to bring that many nice glasses because, as you know, when you're traveling, they're going to get damaged. So you are drinking with sort of, not a subpar wine glass, but it is a red.
That's okay.
And also, if you've noticed, we started off with the Cava tonight in a regular sort of a red. The new thing now, you guys might know this, especially you, Eli, is people are getting away from the flutes.
That's what I was going to say, because this for traditionally for sparkling wine, this isn't the appropriate glass, right? It's the thin. Flute.
Not anymore. There's big controversy right now, and the tide is turning, and people are saying go back to the open.
To get more of the.
Absolutely, because you want
aromas,
to smell it and you want to taste it. So Bobby P might be getting rid of the flutes and strictly drinking his bubbles now out of a regular wine glass.
Okay. Oh, I was going to say about the Cava that sometimes I don't like a lot of sparkle in my sparkling wine, and that really had a nice balance to it.
You don't
Wasn't
really,
too-
do you
wasn't
generally
too-
get a lot of sparkle or a lot of bubbles in
No.
a Cava? Not usually, do you?
Well, I just got a little hint of something,
I think
which was
especially
nice.
like I mean, we're talking about Prosecco and some of the other less expensive sparkling. I mean, I found the same thing that Ray, that it just can be sort of almost like seltzerish, right? It just, the bubbles kind of overpower and defeat the purpose of a starter or something that you're just supposed to be not thinking about and drinking if you're like, whoa, right? But I agree, very good.
Well, let's get into the regs. I know Ben is dying to get his mouth on that. So
We could talk about
I'm a
Cava all
patient
night,
man.
but you know.
this is a little gem that I did a tasting at recently, the La Tribu 2010. This is an excellent entry-level Grenache, especially for people who might be unfamiliar with Grenache or they've heard that it's a little on the stronger side. This is a equal part blend of Grenache, Monastrell, and Syrah. And when I tasted this, the balance works. Oh, I should pour myself.
You
some.
got to pour it.
Yeah.
I was thinking, well, it's
Do have a taste.
The balance is so nice and so mild that people who tend to be offended by anything that's as bold as a really powerful Grenache are going to like this. This is aged for 4 months in oak. I think it is from the Finca Santa Rosa area inside an old bodega from the 19th century. And they say you get aromas of meat and game and blackberry in this. I don't know if that's the case. The aroma might be stronger than the actual taste.
Yeah, I could see definitely the black fruit,
Yeah.
kind of intense, maybe black currant, or the beautiful wine too. I mean, you look at the color; it's kind of like a reddish purple.
I think
that's
it's a little more acidic than I remember tasting the first time.
I got that too. I felt that too.
I think, Ben, this might be one that needs to open up a little bit more. What do you think?
I think it's pretty drinkable. I don't find it too acidic at all.
That's interesting.
I mean, maybe that's about me, not about your observation.
Well, there's never any right answer in tasting wine.
It tastes very. It's light and very easily kind of approachable in my view.
I could see the legs on Eli's glass because he has that beautiful glass over there. And that's really telling me something itself right there.
Yeah, and I think the acidity in something like this isn't necessarily a bad thing. I think again, I think you did it. I'm already giving you credit for the sequencing of these, because acidity, just like you were saying with this, with like maybe not as much of a boisterous bubbling, sort of has the same effect. Like if you have a really heavy kind of flabby wine with like a lot of sweetness, this is a really good counter to that. So.
And I think this is a good wine just to drink on its own. I don't think you really need to have food with this necessarily. I mean, obviously, there's nothing wrong with ever having cheese and some meats, but I think it's a good drinking wine on its own also.
Oh, I agree. Very good.
And the one thing I think you mentioned about oak, and I guess I was reading that these type of grapes in particular don't pick up as much oak, like the vanilla, like all the things you associate with like a cab.
Yeah, I don't think this is French oak either.
Yeah, and I guess whether it's new or old, but just in general, like oak aging of these people really don't do it because it doesn't impart a lot of that, those other kind of aromas that you see in other reds. So.
Did you say 4 months on the aging?
Yes, 4 months in oak. And one of my wine tasting notes was, and this might be a little over the top, but I found it's a succulent, impeccably balanced, friendly wine. And the reason I say that is because it doesn't offend the palate. And some wines just, they might taste good for a second, but then all of a sudden you get all these weird things going on in your mouth, and sometimes your mouth says, I'm offended, and starts playing with you. So, not this one. There's nothing offensive about this at all.
Yeah, yeah, that's good.
Do you mind my asking what kind of price is this wine?
Oh yeah, I'm sorry. This one is also very affordable, between $10.99 and $13.99, which once again for I think wine at least in my opinion, this quality is a very good price. And most Spanish wines you can still get at a very reasonable cost. Though we are going to be going up the price point a little bit as we go through the wines here. But even stuff $30 and $40, which some people would think is expensive, is really not that expensive for good quality wine.
And I wonder too with the blending, if you kind of take some of the overt fruitiness that a kind of a less expensive Garnacha could have, right? It's such a fruit-dominated grape that the blend maybe is what gives it sort of that interesting character, like you were saying, Bobby. So.
Well, I think Ben and Eli, isn't the Grenache grape one of the most widely grown grapes in the world? Grenache.
I think certainly in Spain and we were talking about in southern France, it's very popular. It's Grenache, but typically a lot of times blended, just to sort of to take out some of these some of these other flavors and sort of balance it out, like you were saying, the impeccable balance you get out of this. So.
And I think the alcohol in this, because of the blend, is I think it's a 13.5, or it's not as high as you might expect because it's a blend.
It's a great label too.
Yeah, and actually we're going to be moving up in alcohol content as we go to the last three. But I like that one. I think it's a really nice, great wine to serve for people who don't like their palate to be overpowered.
It'd be good for a party or something where you're trying
Yeah.
to appeal to a lot of different people.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Nobody would dislike that.
you get tired of putting out Cabernets and all that other Merlots. This is a great one.
I
to
think
put
it would
out.
appeal to people that like Pinot Noir too, because it sort of has a little bit of that sort of soft but still balanced type flavor. So.
Well, I see everybody's glass is empty, so that's a good sign.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Ray, if you don't mind doing the next pour.
Sure.
This one, another one that I fell in love with. It's a 2009 Raphael Revert Sistrum Red.
Well, that's dark.
120-year-old vines. At this price point, to get what we're drinking, 120-year-old vines, is just phenomenal. It's from the Kingdom of Navarra, an autonomously ruled region in Spain, which is up in the corner,
Thanks.
right near France, and I think at the Atlantic Ocean, I believe, between France and Spain. And this particular one is really, it's a medium-bodied wine, but my God, when I tasted this the first time, there's so much going on. You get rhubarb, you get cranberry. And it's a 2009, so you should probably drink it now. I think my tasting notes were between now and 2024.
Is this a blend or is this a
This is
100%
no, this is not a blend.
Grenache, okay. And do you know if this is this the current vintage that's out, or is this one that you've held on to for a bit?
No, this is available still.
Okay.
Yep, still available right now. Now you notice the difference between the blend.
Yeah.
This more is it's a little bit more complex, I think.
Yeah, this is you can definitely chew on this a bit more.
Sure
yeah.
can. What do you think, Ben?
It's good. I like it. It has sort of a little bit of a chalky, dry finish to it, but the taste is really quite delicious.
It's funny, I also wrote down olive and balsamic. And I get a little of the olive, I think.
Yeah, I can see that. I think that's on.
And this is one too that if if you could keep your hands off of it, it would open up. I would think a little bit.
I
we were talking
completely
about
agree.
Decanting it or something.
I completely agree. I think all the ones that we've tasted, other than the cava, should have opened up a little bit longer. But you're at least getting some of the characteristics now that are only going to improve as the evening goes on. For some of my guests, because they're taking the wine home with them. So, but yeah, I think that's fantastic. And I think this is between $14 and $15.99.
Boy, I'm so surprised there's so many. I just went to the little liquor store around the house, and there are so many Spanish wines. They've broadened their Spanish wine selection.
Yeah, I think the popularity is really taken off, and the other thing I was thinking too, it's not a style that for whatever reason people have made kind of knockoff wines of, right? Like the bad Burgundies or Merlots that are sort of generic. It's just I think just the types of grapes and the climate and everything. They sort of can compete on their own right, without having this sort of. No one quite does wines like they do there in the same way. So.
Well, and they've expanded their production of wines hugely over the last number of years. I know that the Spanish wine growers are vilified by French wine growers because they're able under the European Union rules to import grapes from Spain into France and add it into their table wine. But that's, I think, a mark of the interest in the product that they're producing.
That's correct. And I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
The Grenache grape itself, I think it thrives on sun, right? It's a type of grape that needs a lot of heat and a warm climate to really reach its full ripeness.
Yeah, I don't think you find it grown in places like, certainly like in Connecticut, you'd have trouble growing it. But I think in Southern California, Australia, places that get a lot of sun exposure, Southern France, Spain, definitely.
It grows in dry areas too,
Yeah,
pretty dry.
right. Which is nice too from a farming standpoint, like as far as not having to do irrigation and so forth.
I can see where you were referring to the olives and the savory taste because it's so unsweet,
Yes.
this wine.
You get
But
the
not,
fruit.
certainly not in a bad way, but it just is not a sweet wine at all.
And I think maybe coming off of especially the prior one, I got sort of monolithic at the finish, right? It's just kind of because of what you were just saying, that the drying and the tannins and sort of this chalkiness, which is good. But I mean, this would be great with a really, a fattier.
This is a food
meats.
wine, absolutely.
Yeah.
My mouth is dry right now.
Right.
I've been dying to dig into that cheese, but I'm going to wait till after the show to do that. It's definitely the kind of wine that you need to put a little something in your mouth other than the
A
wine.
nice Spanish lamb chop or something would be perfect. Yeah.
Well, the Spaniards do know how to put stuff out to put in your mouth. So that's one of their great strengths.
And my favorite word, paella.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm like I said, I love this particular wine, so I'm still giving it a thumbs up, but please feel free to offer your own opinion.
Hey, again, for the price point, this level of complexity and sort of just, the stuffing it's got, I think is really, really admirable.
And I
I
think
probably would have gone for if a second glass. I probably, if I was at a party, I would probably go back to the second, to the blend, the second wine.
I agree, only because it's easier to drink, you don't need to eat any food with it.
Right.
Well, maybe so,
Yeah.
right.
I think the system, you do have to have something to accompany the flavor of the wine, just to balance it out in your mouth.
Right.
Unless you're drunk and it doesn't matter. But the alcohol in that content, I think, yes, and now we're jumping up to a 14%. And I think Eli, which has the Juan Gill coming up, and that's the blend, that's probably going to be a 14 also. Oh, actually, no, it's a 15.
It's 100
See from here.
and it's 100% Monastrell.
Oh, it is, that's right, yep. So I'm ready to go.
All right,
All right.
Ben, you want to do the honors?
Sure thing.
So what is your experience with this one, Eli?
It's been on the market I've been in the U.S. probably maybe 8 to 10 years. So like we were talking about, I think the Grenache is their Garnacha is sort of the theme of some of these, but this is 100% Monastrell, which is also known as Mourvedre. So it's more, I'm expecting, and I don't have the tasting notes on it, but there may be something on the back if we really want to read it. But I expect this to be even kind of a step up as far as the intensity and sort of kind of earthy characteristics, right? Because it's usually a blending grape.
Well, I can tell you right now, I think Ben is anticipating it too, because he gave the biggest pour so far of the evening. So
I'm just sorry. It's hard for me to
I think
hold
Ben
back.
has high expectations on this one, so I certainly hope it doesn't disappoint.
Forgive me for my.
It's got a nice aroma.
Yeah, the fragrance on this one is really good. I do remember this, having had this in the past. This is really
that's
good.
good.
Yeah, that's really good.
It just sort of caresses your gums and your tongue. It doesn't fight with anything. Wow. And what's the price point on that one, roughly?
I think this is in the 15 to 20
Yeah.
range as well. And I think that I sense a little more ripeness than the last one, and maybe I'm picking up, there's some sweetness, some intensity of flavor, but then it still does finish dry, right? Like just
Well,
like
it finishes
Right.
dry.
Yeah.
I would agree with that.
But yeah, no, I'm glad to have this again and have another good experience with it. So
Oh yeah, you're right. It hit first with the sweet and the fruity, and then finished nice and
Right.
dry.
And I'm assuming the Monastrell grape is it going to be heavy? Are there going to be a lot of legs on that?
yeah, I would think so. And this is, like I said, it's pretty rare to find this as a sort of a standalone. It usually is a blending grape, which. But I think in areas where you can get enough sun and get it ripe enough, then you can actually kind of have it stand alone, like this example here. So,
So do you know in the Jumilla region where this is from, do they produce also blends, or is does the Jamila,
Like their DOC or
yeah,
whatever,
whatever
does
they
it.
call
Yeah.
it, the Consejo, whatever that says, I can't read it,
Yeah.
it's too, print's too small.
I know this is in far southern Spain by Valencia, so I would assume that the climate is really conducive to getting a lot of ripeness. But yeah, I don't know if it's one of those areas where where they're restricted in essence, like this is the grape that you
This is
have
what
to
they grow.
use, right, type of thing. But
Well, that's true for the albarinas I was talking about. That's what they grow. Everybody grows it. It's like everybody's backyard. They grow it throughout the region in little tiny lots all across the landscape.
And as Jim has talked about this before, what's great when you have, like, whether it's France or Spain, you do get microclimates. So you have so many people growing these grapes. They're all going to be a little different. Whether it's just a block or two up the road from where you're walking to where you are, it's going to taste a little different. That's what's so great about wines from that part of the country, because they're so unique. Yeah, American wines, California, Oregon, Washington State, so they're beautiful wines. But it's hard to fight and beat that history and the age of the soil when you're in Europe and so forth when it comes to wine production. But this is really good. It's been a while since I've had this one, Eli, and that's going to change. I'm going to put a few more
Yeah,
bottles of that
this
in.
is
Yeah.
really good.
yeah, I think this also would appeal to your average, Cabernet lover type thing. It could stand up to a steak or or something like that quite easily.
It's quite delicious. And it does sort of hit, when you first put it in your mouth, it has a very sort of bright opening.
Exactly.
That makes you, it's nice. I like that accessibility. Although, as you say, it does.
Yeah, and I think
The
again
strength when it
that's
sits in your
just
mouth.
probably because of the ability to really to grow the grape that could be sort of maybe finicky and prone to like green. Because I think that is one of the knocks on this particular variety is that if you grow it in a less warm climate, you'd end up with like sort of a lot of stemmy green flavors. So maybe that is, I think, on the finish, maybe you get a little bit of that, but you overwhelm it with that nice fruit kind of up front. So
Well, it's spectacular. So thank you very much. That's
Okay.
thumbs up across the board for me.
Yeah, me too.
And also, I want to emphasize this again, and I talked about this earlier. Even though it's a 15% alcohol wine, you don't get that. And you're not getting like a Zin's
Right.
15. You get the alcohol in a Zin. You do not get that in this at all. You're really just getting the grape and the flavor, the terroir of the grape. I mean, there's a whole lot going on, but not the alcohol. So don't be afraid of that when you see a 15% in the store. I mean, it's still a very drinkable wine without offending you too much.
Yeah.
So everybody's glass is empty. So now we're going into my star, which I fell in love with about 3 months ago. I have not been able to drink enough of this. Critically acclaimed, 91, 92 points across the board. The Tres Picos 2015 Grenache, 100% Grenache, fermented in both oak and steel, and bottled for 10 months in French oak before it's bottled. This is fabulous. Now, I'm coming in biased. So I know, Ben, you said you've had this before, so I'm sure you might still like it, but if you don't, just be honest.
Right.
But I love this particular wine.
and I think. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I'll let you start pouring down there.
Oh, sure. Yeah, I was going to say, I think this is one of the ones I think this came to the U.S. maybe about 10 years ago, and was just sort of a revelation at this price point, right, for the quality and just the intensity of flavor that hopefully we'll see in a few minutes here.
And the elevation, I think, is 2,300 feet that the vineyard that produces this wine is on. And the vineyard itself it's been in circulation since 1956.
And the name of the producer is Borsao, I believe, right?
You're right, I didn't write that down.
The Tres Picos is this particular, I guess, bottling of that.
And what I loved is, and I wrote this down in my taste notes when I tasted this, is, and we talked about this earlier, it has a smell of a high-end Northern Rhone wine. That's what, if you're smelling this, that's what you would get. And it's just, you wouldn't get a Spanish wine right off with the aroma, I don't think. I just think this is fabulous. Just absolutely fabulous.
And I'm not sure if it's true with this one, but I think the other thing I was saying, sort of this revolution in the high quality to price Spanish wines, is that a lot of them people, U.S. importers, would work with vineyards there to say, hey, let's make something right that's really good, reduce your yields, and I think this is a perfect example of that approach. So we're the lucky recipients, but yeah, this is Jorge Ordonez is I think the importer on this one. So.
And this is between $15 and $18.99 a bottle, which I'm telling you right now, if you can buy a few of them to store downstairs, please do, because still has some age to it. I didn't read how long you can still store these, but I think you can store this for another 5 to 10 years easily, no problem at all.
I like this.
Speak for yourself, I couldn't keep it on the shelf.
Well, that's true, yeah, once again, I should know better. But I'm always curious, like when I write my tasting notes down, pepper, licorice, I get the pepper, I get a little licorice. Is there anything else that sticks in your, did you get the cherries and raspberries? I got a little of that, but.
I definitely got a freshness. And again, kind of the first impression was this nice fruity freshness. Maybe that's cherry, I'm not sure.
What's fascinating about
But I
this
liked
one
it.
for me, for Grenache, is across the board, 91, 92 points from most Wine Spectre and all the other agencies. And I get that, because at this price point, to drink a wine of this quality, it's pretty impressive to sell it to them. So I just, like I said, I've been in love with this. It's still available. You can get most of these locally. I believe Eli, the Wine Gill, is available
Yep.
still. The only one you might have to look around for is, the Lodge Tribute. You might have to look around for that, look online. But it is out there. 2010 vintage is probably a little bit better, but they do have a 2015 that's out, which is also good, but I have not tried, so I can't say anything.
This one was a 2010?
This is a 2010, yes, one year. But all in all, I'm very impressed with what we tasted tonight. Now, our remaining few moments, I'm surprised. We don't normally get through 5 bottles on the show, but when you have 4 guests, it goes pretty quickly.
And these wines, actually, like I said before, I think you did a nice job of the way we lined these up. It really worked well.
Yeah, I think the progression worked pretty good, Ben, right? Would you agree?
I think they were all delicious,
Yeah.
each one more delicious than the one before. Well, they were all delicious. I'm actually not going to rank them in that order exactly, but I might if I thought about it.
And Ray, what do you think? I know you've traveled a little bit too. In your opinion for red wine, do you like this better?
Oh yeah, I thought all these were delicious. I'd have to say the outside ones were probably my favorite, although top one for me right here. That one hit me
The Wine Gill?
yeah.
Interesting. I thought you
Yeah.
go back to the blend.
But
Ben,
I
what about
did-
you? What about you?
Well, I like the blend too.
I drink a fair amount of Grenache of different kinds, some a little cheaper than this, and some quite good. I actually was most impressed with the blend. I thought that was surprising.
And Eli, really quick on you?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, for something, I've had these two on the end before several times, and they're great. But yeah, the blend was sort of an eye-opener for me as well.
So I want to thank both Eli. I think this is your 3rd time on the show for coming down. Ray, thank you for coming down. I know you're a
My
busy
pleasure.
man. Ben, of course, you're a busy man. I appreciate you coming down to drink with us.
A great opportunity at the end of the day.
Absolutely, and I hope everybody has a great holiday. The show's going to be airing in December, so have a great holiday. And until next time, keep all of us in your wine cellar.